A New York Times report published this weekend suggests that Ron DeSantis, governor of Florida during COVID, of course, in changing his approach to COVID and the things that he was saying about it, could potentially be linked to a lot of needless deaths once the vaccine was widely available in Florida. So just if you're not familiar with the flip-flop, here's a little reminder of it.
It's a single dose. You take it one time, you don't have to worry about it. And we're gonna give them more because we want the shots to go in the arms. So my message is the vaccines protect you. It is very clear on the vaccinations. You're much less likely to be hospitalized or die if you're vaccinated. The benefit from them taking the shot, as you alluded to, it doesn't prevent them from getting infected or spreading it anyways. But the mRNA shots were shown not to prevent the infection.
I have the ability as governor to convene what's called a statewide grand jury. So the statewide grand jury is now seated in the state of Florida. They're hearing testimony, and what they're basically trying to determine is, what misrepresentations and lies were made about the mRNA COVID shots.
So it is important that you understand, especially a few years out from the pandemic, that while we rightly criticize Republicans, both elected officials as well as members of the media, right-wing influencers, all of that, for advocating for nothing to be done about COVID, lying about the vaccine, pushing colloidal silver, all of that, we should criticize them. We should never forget for the rest of our lives what they did during that time. It was the greatest dereliction of any sort of ethical obligation to the American people that we have ever seen in politics, and I hope we never see it defeated in that. But we also need to remember that that is not how it started. Ron DeSantis was openly advocating for people to take the vaccine up until it became politically incorrect to do so as a Republican. And then he switched. It would be one thing if he had always been against it. That would be terrible. But demonstrating that he knows that people should take it and then caring more about his political ambitions than the lives of tens of thousands of Floridians is way worse. And it's not just him, by the way. Donald Trump, of course, spoke seriously about COVID early on before he decided to just give up. Tucker Carlson was advocating for people to take it seriously, to socially distance and all that. It was very common early on, because why wouldn't it be? It's a public health crisis taking place under a Republican president. Obviously, you're gonna try to stop it from being as bad as it might be. But only once Trump demonstrated that he was not going to stop it, he was not gonna take it seriously, did they decide that there was more clout to be gained by pretending that it wasn't an issue. And that mattered. Early on in Florida, when the vaccine became available, lots of people were getting the vaccine. They were actually doing very well, sort of leading the nation in getting people vaccinated. Unfortunately, by July 2021, once you had comments coming from the leadership like Ron DeSantis, like you saw, their vaccine numbers had fallen from their early lead. Rates of vaccination among younger adults in the state were below the national average. And then you would eventually see the result of that. In later waves of the disease, more people died in Florida than in almost any other state during the Delta wave. Florida made 14% of deaths between July and October 2021, twice how big of a portion of the population they actually were. 23,000 Floridians died during the Delta wave, 9,000 of them younger than 65, a majority of whom were either unvaccinated or had gotten the first one and then declined to get the second one. It matters. And they hide behind these weaselly things like it doesn't prevent you from getting sick. Yes, it does not prevent everyone from getting sick in the same way that locking your door doesn't prevent everyone from being robbed. Having a gun doesn't protect everyone from violence happening to them. That has never stopped Republicans from trying to limit risk, limit damage and exposure in other areas. But like little snake weasels in this case, they hide behind stuff like that, knowing that people who are vaccinated get sick at lower rates, don't get as sick, and die at far lower rates. That is not controversial, but they lied to their own people for their own political gain. Adrienne, what do you make of all this? Sorry to dredge up the pandemic for you again.
No, it's okay. I'm happy to join you to some extent in dredging up the past as far as I'm concerned, because it would seem counterintuitive to advocate for something that would cause your constituents to die, especially if you'd like to get elected maybe on a national level. Because last time I checked, back in 2000, when we're talking Bush v. Gore, the final official Florida count was given to Bush at a victory of like 530 some odd votes. Yeah. So it would tell me that having numbers is important for people to support you, but why DeSantis would think killing people who are his potential constituents would be helpful to him in some way, I just don't get it. But I know, again, it's destructive, it's deadly, and it seems to be very much the Ron DeSantis way.
100%, and it's now locked in. For all time, they either, because they're incapable of learning, or as I speculated in the pre-port today, because they staked a claim on, it's not gonna be that bad, we don't need to get vaccinated. They were proven wrong a million times over, a mountain of needless dead, disproportionately conservative. And you could either learn from that, you can accept the mistake that you made and the damage that it did, or you can just hide from it for the rest of your life. Like an utter intellectual coward, coming up with distractions and evasions, making conspiracy theories about LeBron James's son having a heart attack because of the vaccine, hiding behind conspiracism and willful ignorance. That's a different way that you can go, I guess. Unfortunately, you can spread as many conspiracy theories as you want. It's not gonna bring back one of the people who needlessly died.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.